They walked into the restaurant like they owned the place. Designer clothes, expensive watches, that look on their faces that said they were better than everyone else. The woman wrinkled her nose at the decor. The man snapped his fingers for service. And when a black man in a white shirt and black pants approached their table with menus, they didn't see a person. They saw a servant. Finally, the woman said, not even looking at him. We've been waiting forever. They hadn't been waiting at all. They'd just walked in. The man ordered her around. Water, no ice. And make sure the glasses are clean this time. The black man smiled. Patient. Professional. Of course, sir, but they weren't done. You people, the woman muttered, loud enough to be heard. Never get anything right. Other diners looked away, uncomfortable but silent. The black man stood there. Took it all. Didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. He just said, "I'll be right back with your water." The couple smirked, satisfied, like they'd put someone in their place. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have possibly known, was that the man they just insulted, the one they treated like he was beneath them, he wasn't their waiter. He was the owner of the entire restaurant. And what happened next? It didn't just humble them. It changed everyone who witnessed it. Because this isn't just a story about a couple being rude to a waiter. It's about a man who built an empire from nothing. About dignity in the face of disrespect. About a moment that revealed who we really are when we think no one important is watching. His name is Marcus Thompson. And what he did that night, it taught a lesson nobody in that room will ever forget. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Marcus Thompson grew up in New Orleans, the 7th Ward, where the streets had stories and every grandmother knew your name. His mama worked 3 jobs. His daddy left when Marcus was 4. But his grandmother, Miss Lorraine, she raised him right. "Baby," she'd say, stirring a pot of gumbo that smelled like heaven. "You gotta work 3 times as hard to get half as far. But don't you ever let that make you bitter. You let it make you better." Marcus took those words to heart. He started working at 12, bagging groceries, mowing lawns, washing dishes at a local diner. By 16, he was cooking. By 18, he was the best line cook in the kitchen. By 25, he'd saved enough to attend culinary school, worked during the day, studied at night, slept 4 hours if he was lucky. His instructors loved him. His classmates, some of them couldn't handle that a black kid from the ward was better than them. They'd accidentally mess up his stations, hide his ingredients, make him start over minutes before service. But Marcus never complained, never reported them, just worked harder, because Miss Lorraine's voice was always in his head, "Let it make you better." After culinary school, Marcus worked at some of the finest restaurants in New Orleans. French Quarter establishments where tourists paid $200 a plate. He was talented. Everyone knew it. But head chef positions? Those kept going to other people. People with the right background. The right connections. So at 32, Marcus made a decision. If they wouldn't give him a seat at the table, he'd build his own table. He took every dollar he'd saved. Got a loan from a local credit union. Found a small space in the Garden District. And in 2018, he opened Thompson's Table, a soul food restaurant with fine dining execution. Gumbo with wine pairings. Fried chicken with truffle honey. Collard greens that made grown men cry. The first year was brutal. Most restaurants fail. Marcus almost did too. But slowly, word spread. The food was too good to ignore. By year 3, Thompson's Table had a waiting list. Food critics were writing reviews. Celebrities were posting photos. Marcus had made it. He employed 15 people, all from the neighborhood, gave kids their first jobs, paid fair wages, treated everyone with respect, because he remembered what it felt like to be invisible, to be overlooked, to be judged before you even opened your mouth. That's why Marcus still did everything at his restaurant. He cooked. He served. He cleaned. He greeted guests at the door. "I'm not above any job in this place," he'd tell his staff. We're a team. And on this particular Friday night in October, Marcus was doing what he often did. Walking the floor, checking on tables, making sure everyone was happy. He was wearing his usual work clothes. White button-down shirt, black slacks, simple but clean. To anyone who didn't know, he looked like waitstaff, and that's when they walked in, the couple who would learn the most expensive lesson of their lives. But just when you think this is a simple story about rude customers, things take a much deeper turn. The couple's names were Richard and Catherine. Montgomery, mid-40s. Wealthy, the kind of people who thought money made them important. Richard owned a real estate development company. Catherine didn't work. Spent her days at country clubs and charity galas where she donated money for the social status, not the cause. They'd heard about Thompson's Table from Catherine's book club. It's supposed to be authentic, one of her friends had said. Catherine had wrinkled her nose at the word. Authentic was code for something she usually avoided. But the restaurant had a 3-week waiting list, and Catherine loved saying she'd been to places other people couldn't get into. So Richard pulled strings, called in a favor, got a reservation for that Friday night. They arrived 15 minutes late. Didn't call. Didn't apologize. The hostess, a young black woman named Jasmine, greeted them warmly. Good evening. Welcome to Thompson's Table. Catherine looked past her. We have a reservation, Montgomery. Of course. Let me check. Jasmine scanned her list. I have you here at 7:30. Your table is... We're here now, Richard interrupted. So we'll take it now. Jasmine kept her smile. Absolutely, sir. Right this way. She led them to a beautiful table by the window, candlelit, fresh flowers. The kind of table that usually made people smile and say, thank you. The Montgomerys said nothing. Catherine pulled out her phone. Richard looked around the restaurant like he was inspecting it. The decor is interesting, Catherine said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Very urban. An older black couple at the next table exchanged glances. They'd heard that tone before. Jasmine handed them menus. These are tonight's specials. Our chef's gumbo has won multiple awards and... We'll look at the menu, Richard said, dismissing her. Jasmine nodded. Of course. Can I start you with something to drink? Is the water filtered? Catherine asked. Yes, ma'am. We have... Bring us still water, room temperature, and make sure the glasses are actually clean. Jasmine's smile tightened. Of course. As she walked away, Catherine leaned toward Richard. Did you see her nails? At a fine dining establishment? Jasmine's nails were painted. Simple, professional. But that didn't matter to Catherine. That's when Marcus walked over. He'd been in the kitchen checking on a special order. Came out to see how service was flowing. He saw the Montgomerys at table 12. Saw Jasmine heading back toward the kitchen with tight shoulders. Something in her posture told him there was a problem. So Marcus did what he always did. He stepped in. He approached table 12 with a warm smile. Good evening. How are we doing tonight? Richard barely glanced at him. We're fine. We ordered water. I'll make sure that comes right out, Marcus said. Have you had a chance to look at the menu? Catherine looked up from her phone. Her eyes scanned Marcus from head to toe. The white shirt. The black pants. She made an assumption. Are you our server? She asked. Marcus could have corrected her. Should have, maybe. But something told him to wait, to see where this went. I'm here to help, he said simply. Well, help by bringing our water, Richard said. We've been waiting forever. They'd been sitting for less than 3 minutes. Marcus nodded. Right away. He went to the service station. Got 2 glasses. Filled them with filtered water, room temperature. Brought them back. Here you are, he said, setting them down carefully. Catherine inspected her glass. Held it up to the light. Actually checked for spots. I suppose this will do, she said. Marcus stood there. Patient, professional. Are you ready to order? he asked. No, Richard said. We need more time. You people always rush. You people. The words hung in the air. Marcus felt them. So did the couple at the next table. So did a waiter passing by, but Marcus just nodded. Take all the time you need. As he started to walk away, Catherine called after him. And when we do order, she said, try to get it right the first time. We don't have all night to deal with mistakes. Marcus turned back, looked at her. Really looked at her. She was so confident, so sure of herself, so certain that she was better than the man standing in front of her. I'll do my best, Marcus said quietly, and then he walked away. But he didn't go to the kitchen. He went to his office, sat down at his desk, took a deep breath. His grandmother's picture sat on the shelf. Miss Lorraine, smiling, proud. Let it make you better, he whispered to himself. Marcus stood up, straightened his shirt, made a decision. He wasn't going to embarrass them, wasn't going to kick them out, wasn't going to make a scene. He was going to do something harder, something more powerful. He was going to serve them the best meal of their lives, and then he would show them exactly who they'd been talking to. Marcus walked back into the kitchen, called his sous chef over. Table 12, he said. I'm cooking for them myself. And I want it perfect. His sous chef knew that tone. Everything okay, chef? Marcus smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was something else. Everything's about to be, he said. But if you think that was intense, wait until you see what came next. For the next hour, Marcus Thompson cooked like his life depended on it. He started with the amuse-bouche, a tiny bite of cornbread with honey butter and sea salt. Simple. Perfect. The kind of thing that makes you close your eyes and sigh. He sent it out with Jasmine. She set it in front of the Montgomerys. Compliments of the chef. Catherine poked at it with her fork. What is it? Cornbread, Jasmine said. With cornbread? Catherine laughed. At a fine dining restaurant? Richard tried it anyway. His eyes widened. He took another bite. It's actually quite good, he admitted, surprised. Catherine tried hers. Didn't say anything. But she finished it. Next came the appetizer. Fried green tomatoes over a remoulade with microgreens and edible flowers. Marcus had spent 15 minutes on the plating alone. It looked like art. When Jasmine brought it out, even Catherine was impressed. This looks acceptable, she said. They ate in silence. The tomatoes were perfectly crispy. The remoulade was tangy and bright. The flavors were sophisticated and surprising. Where did they find the chef? Richard asked Jasmine. He's from here, Jasmine said. Born and raised in New Orleans. Catherine said. I expected they'd bring someone in from New York or something. You know. Someone trained, Jasmine bit her tongue. Chef Thompson is formally trained, ma'am. Graduated top of his class. Thompson? Richard said. Same as the restaurant name? Yes, sir, but they didn't connect the dots. They were too busy eating. The main course came next. Marcus had prepared his signature dish. Braised short ribs over creamy grits with collard greens and a red wine reduction. It was the kind of meal that made food critics weep. That had been featured in magazines. That people drove from other states to try. Richard cut into the meat. It fell apart at the touch of his fork. Melted in his mouth. My God, he said. This is incredible, Catherine agreed. For the first time all night she wasn't complaining. They ate slowly, savoring every bite. Around them, the restaurant hummed. Other diners laughed, clinked glasses, enjoyed their meals. Marcus watched from the kitchen window. Watched them eat the food he'd prepared. Watched them enjoy every bite. His sous chef stood next to him. They have no idea, do they? Not yet, Marcus said. When the Montgomerys finished, Jasmine cleared their plates. Would you like to see the dessert menu? She asked. Yes, Catherine said. She was full but couldn't resist. What do you recommend? The bourbon pecan pie is our most popular, Jasmine said. "And the beignets are made fresh to order." "We'll take both," Richard said. "And coffee." "Real coffee, not that instant garbage," Jasmine nodded. "Of course, sir." Back in the kitchen, Marcus prepared the desserts himself. The beignets were perfect golden pillows dusted with powdered sugar. The pecan pie was warm, the bourbon caramel sauce drizzled in perfect spirals. He plated them like jewels, added fresh whipped cream. "Mint garnish. Take these out," he told Jasmine. "And tell them I'll be by shortly to check on them." Jasmine looked at him. "You sure about this, chef?" Marcus nodded. "I'm sure." The desserts were delivered. The Montgomerys ate them in stunned silence. "This is—" Catherine couldn't find the words. "This is the best meal I've had in years," Richard agreed. "We need to find out who their chef is. Maybe we can get them to cater our holiday party." Catherine pulled out her phone, started typing a review. 5 stars. Glowing praise. "Best fine dining in New Orleans," she wrote. She was in the middle of posting when Marcus approached their table. He'd put on his chef's coat now, the white double-breasted jacket with his name embroidered on the chest. Chef M. Thompson in black script, but they didn't notice. They were too focused on their phones and their coffee. "Good evening," Marcus said, standing at their table. "I hope you enjoyed your meal." Richard looked up, saw the chef's coat, suddenly became friendly. "Chef! Yes, that was extraordinary. Truly, the best meal we've had in months." "I'm so glad," Marcus said. "That's wonderful to hear." Catherine put her phone down, actually smiled. "You're incredibly talented. Where did you train?" "Here and there," Marcus said. "Mostly in New Orleans." "Well, you should be in New York," Catherine said. "Or San Francisco. Somewhere your talent would really be appreciated." "I appreciate that," Marcus said. "But I love it here. This is my home." Of course, Richard said. He pulled out his business card. "Listen, we host a holiday party every year. Very exclusive. Very high-end. We'd love to have you cater it. Money is no object." Marcus took the card, looked at it, set it on the table. "That's a generous offer," he said. "So you'll do it?" Catherine asked, excited now, planning it in her head. "Actually," Marcus said slowly, "I wanted to thank you both personally. You see, I don't usually cook for guests myself, but tonight I made an exception." "Well, we're honored," Richard said, not catching the tone. "You should be," Marcus said, his voice still calm, still professional, "because I'm not just the chef here. I'm the owner. This is my restaurant." The words landed like stones in still water. Richard's smile froze. Catherine's face went pale. "You're—" Richard started. "The owner," Marcus finished. "Marcus Thompson. This is Thompson's table. My table." Silence. The tables nearby had gotten quiet. People were listening now. "When you walked in tonight," Marcus continued, his voice level, "you assumed I was your waiter, and that was fine. I've been every position in this restaurant. I'm not above any job here." Catherine opened her mouth, but no words came out. "But then," Marcus said, "you spoke to me and my staff like we were beneath you, like we were less than human. You people, you said. You inspected water glasses. You made assumptions about who I was based on the color of my skin and the clothes I was wearing." Richard tried to recover. "Now, wait a minute, we didn't—" "Let me finish," Marcus said firmly. Not rudely, but with authority. "I could have told you who I was the moment you disrespected me. I could have kicked you out, embarrassed you, made a scene." He paused. "But I didn't, because my grandmother taught me that the best response to ignorance isn't anger. It's excellence. So I went into my kitchen, and I cooked you the best meal I knew how to make. I gave you my finest service. I treated you with the dignity you didn't show me." Catherine's eyes were filling with tears now. Shame. Pure shame. "Why?" Richard asked quietly. Marcus looked at him. "Because I wanted you to understand something. The person you dismissed, the waiter you talked down to, he's the same person who created the experience you just called extraordinary. Same hands, same mind, same human being. He let that sink in. The only thing that changed, Marcus said, was what you knew about me. But I was always the same person. The only thing that changed was your perception. Just when it seemed the lesson was complete, something incredible happened. The entire restaurant had gone silent now. Every table was listening. Waitstaff had stopped moving. Even the kitchen had gone quiet, the cooks watching through the pass window. Catherine was crying openly now, mascara running down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Richard sat frozen, his business card still on the table between them. Suddenly meaningless, Marcus could have walked away then. Could have let them sit in their shame. Could have moved on with his night. But he didn't, because this moment wasn't about revenge. It was about something bigger. Marcus pulled out a chair, sat down at their table. The gesture surprised them. "Surprised everyone watching? Can I tell you something?" Marcus asked. They nodded. "Couldn't speak." "This happens more than you think," Marcus said quietly. "Not always as obvious as tonight. But it happens. People make assumptions. They see the color of my skin and they make decisions about who I am, what I'm capable of, what I'm worth." He leaned forward. His voice was gentle but firm. "When I was in culinary school, instructors would praise my food and then act surprised, like they couldn't believe someone who looked like me could create something beautiful. When I worked in fancy restaurants, customers would ask for the real chef when I came out to greet them. When I was trying to get loans for this place, banks turned me down because they couldn't imagine a soul food restaurant being fine dining." Catherine was shaking her head. "That's terrible." "It is," Marcus agreed. "But here's what I learned. I can't control what people assume about me. I can only control what I do in response. And I refuse to let other people's ignorance make me bitter. I refuse to let it stop me from building something beautiful." He gestured around the restaurant. "Every person who works here has a story. Jasmine, your hostess, she's putting herself through nursing school. My sous chef, Jerome, he was homeless 3 years ago. My pastry chef, Maria, she came here from Honduras with nothing. I hired her when no one else would." Richard was listening now. "Really listening. We're not just a restaurant," Marcus said. "We're a family. We're proof that talent and hard work and dignity can build something real, something that matters." He stood up, looked down at them. "So here's what I want you to understand. When you disrespect a waiter, any waiter, you're not just being rude. You're denying someone's humanity. You're saying that their job makes them less valuable as a person. And that's not okay. Not ever." "You're right," Richard said, his voice thick. "You're absolutely right. I know I am," Marcus said simply. "But knowing it and living it are different things." He picked up Richard's business card from the table. Looked at it again. "I'm not going to cater your party," he said. "But I want you to do something else. Something harder." Catherine looked up at him. "What?" "I want you to come back," Marcus said. They were shocked. "Come back in a month. Make a reservation like everyone else. Wait in line like everyone else. And when you come, I want you to learn everyone's name. Your server, your busser, the person who brings your water. I want you to look them in the eye and see them as human beings with dreams and struggles and dignity." He put the card in his pocket. "And then, if you still want to host an event here, we'll talk. But you have to earn it. You have to show me that you understand what you did wrong. And more importantly, you have to show my staff that you respect them." It was a challenge, a test, a chance at redemption. Richard nodded slowly. "We'll do it." "I promise." "Don't promise me," Marcus said. "Promise yourself. Promise that you'll do better, be better, see people better." He turned to walk away, then stopped. "Oh, and one more thing," he said. "Dinner tonight is on the house." Catherine shook her head. "No, we should pay. We should—" "It's on the house," Marcus repeated. "Not because I forgive you, but because I want you to remember this meal. Every bite, every flavor, every moment. I want you to remember that the person you disrespected created something beautiful for you anyway. I want that memory to change you. With that, Marcus walked away. The restaurant slowly came back to life. Conversations resumed. Plates clinked. Someone laughed. But everyone in that room had witnessed something powerful. Something that would stay with them. The Montgomerys sat in silence for a long time. Their dessert plates empty. Their coffee cold. Finally, Richard stood up. Helped Catherine with her chair. As they walked toward the door, they passed Jasmine at the host stand. Richard stopped. "Jasmine, is it?" "Yes, sir. I'm sorry," he said. "Truly, I was rude to you earlier. That was wrong." Jasmine was surprised. "Thank you, sir." Catherine pulled a tissue from her purse. Wiped her eyes. "Your nails are beautiful," she said quietly. It was a small thing, but it meant something. They walked out into the New Orleans night. The sounds of jazz drifting from nearby clubs, the smell of the river in the air. Everything looked the same as when they'd walked in 2 hours earlier, but they were different now. Changed, because sometimes the most powerful lessons come not from punishment, but from grace. Not from being torn down, but from being shown what you could be. Not from anger, but from a man who refused to let hate win. In his office, Marcus sat at his desk, looked at his grandmother's picture. "Did I do right, Grandma?" he whispered. He imagined her voice. "Clear as day. You did better than right, baby. You let it make you better." Marcus smiled, took a deep breath, and went back to work. Because that's what you do. You keep cooking, keep building, keep creating beauty in a world that sometimes wants to tear you down. You keep being better. So what does all this mean for us today? The story of what happened at Thompson's table that night spread fast. Someone had recorded part of the conversation on their phone. Posted it online. Within days, it had millions of views. The comment section was divided. Some people thought Marcus was too kind. He should have kicked them out. They didn't deserve that grace. Others were moved. This is how you change hearts. This is real strength. A few people criticized the Montgomerys. Found their names. Started calling for boycotts of Richard's business. But Marcus shut that down fast. He posted a video from the restaurant. "What happened that night was between me and that couple," he said to the camera. "I don't want anyone harassing them. I don't want anyone trying to ruin their lives. That's not what this is about." He paused, chose his words carefully. This is about understanding that we all have biases. We all make assumptions. The question is, what do we do when we're confronted with them? Do we dig in and defend ourselves, or do we listen and grow? The video got even more views than the original. News outlets picked up the story. Marcus was invited on talk shows. Asked to speak at conferences, he declined most of them. "I'm not an activist," he told his publicist. "I'm a chef. I just want to cook good food and treat people right." But the story had taken on a life of its own. Think pieces were written. The power of grace in the face of racism. One chef's lesson in dignity. Why responding with excellence matters. Some people used Marcus as an example in sermons, in classrooms, in diversity training seminars. And Marcus? He kept running his restaurant. But here's what most people didn't see in all the viral videos and news stories. The real impact wasn't in the grand gesture. It was in the small moments that followed. A week after the incident, a white woman came to Thompson's table alone. She asked to speak to Marcus. "I saw your video," she said, "and I realized I've been that person. Not as obvious, maybe, but I've made assumptions. I've been dismissive to service workers, and I'm ashamed." She handed him an envelope. Inside was a $500 tip and a handwritten apology to his staff. "I want to do better," she said. "Can you teach me how?" Marcus invited her to come back, to eat there regularly, to learn his staff's stories, to see them as people. She did. She became a regular. learned everyone's names, asked about their lives, tipped generously. 6 months later, she hired Jasmine as a nurse when she graduated. Gave her a better salary than anywhere else had offered. That's the ripple effect of transformation. Then there was the young black man who came in crying. He was a line cook at another restaurant. He'd been passed over for promotion again. "They told me I wasn't refined enough," he said to Marcus. "And I know what that means. I know what they're really saying." Marcus sat with him, talked with him, eventually hired him. That young man, Devin, is now Marcus's head chef, running the kitchen when Marcus is away, creating his own dishes, building his own reputation. "Chef gave me a chance when no one else would," Devin says. "Not because I'm black, but because he saw my talent when others only saw my skin." That's the power of representation, of someone who's been there creating space for others. And the Montgomerys? True to their word, they came back. It was exactly 1 month later. They made a reservation, waited their turn. When they arrived, they were nervous, unsure. Marcus greeted them at the door. "Welcome back to Thompson's table." They spent the evening doing exactly what he'd asked. They learned names, asked questions, listened to stories. Their server was a young man named James, college student, working his way through school. Richard asked him about his major, his dreams, his favorite dish to serve. Catherine complimented the hostess's dress, asked where she got it, had a real conversation. At the end of the meal, they left a 100% tip and a handwritten note. "Thank you for teaching us to be better. We're still learning, but we're trying." Marcus read the note in his office, felt something shift in his chest. Not vindication, not satisfaction, something softer. Something like hope. Because here's the truth that Marcus understands. Most people aren't evil. They're ignorant. They've never been challenged to examine their biases, never been forced to confront their assumptions. And when you respond to ignorance with anger, they get defensive. They dig in. They justify their behavior. But when you respond with grace, with excellence, with humanity, you create space for transformation. You show them what they could be, should be, can be. That doesn't mean you accept disrespect. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you don't call out injustice. It means you refuse to let other people's darkness dim your light. Marcus thinks about this often, about the balance between standing up for yourself and maintaining your dignity. My grandmother used to say, "Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it," he told his staff one night after service. "So what do?" Jasmine asked. "You stay clean," Marcus said. "You keep your standards. You show them what excellence looks like. And you don't lower yourself just because they came in low." But that doesn't mean it's easy. Marcus still deals with racism, still faces people who question his credentials, still gets customers who ask if he's really the chef. Just last month, a food critic wrote a review that called his food surprisingly sophisticated. Surprisingly, like it was shocking that a black chef from New Orleans could create fine dining. Marcus read the review, felt the familiar sting, the exhaustion of constantly having to prove himself. But then he looked around his restaurant, at the staff he'd hired, the community he'd built, the lives he'd changed, and he realized their surprise is not his problem. Their limited imagination is not his burden to carry. He knows what he's built. He knows what he's capable of. He knows his worth, and that knowledge, that self-assurance, that's freedom. "I used to think I needed to prove myself to everyone," Marcus told a reporter recently. "But I don't. I just need to be myself. My real, full, talented black self. And the right people will see it. The right people will appreciate it. And the people who don't, they're not my audience anyway. That's the lesson in all of this. You don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't dim your light to avoid casting shadows. You shine, fully, unapologetically, and you let your excellence speak for itself. But you also remember, excellence without empathy is just ego. Success without service is just selfishness. That's why Marcus still cooks, still serves, still greets guests at the door, because he never wants to forget where he came from. Never wants to lose sight of why he started. "I didn't build this restaurant just to prove I could," he says. "I built it to create opportunities, to show kids from my neighborhood that they can do this too, to prove that our food, our culture, our stories matter, that we matter. And that's the real revolution. Not the viral video, not the news stories, not the accolades. The revolution is in the daily work, the consistent dignity, the choice to keep building even when people try to tear you down. The revolution is Marcus showing up every day and creating beauty, creating opportunity, creating change one meal at a time, one employee at a time, one moment of grace at a time." Before we wrap up, there's one final truth you need to hear. 6 months after the incident, Marcus got a letter. It came to the restaurant in a cream-colored envelope. Expensive stationery, formal. He opened it in his office. It was from Catherine Montgomery. "Dear Chef Thompson, I've started this letter 20 times and deleted it 20 times, because I don't know how to thank someone for giving you grace you didn't deserve. Since that night at your restaurant, I've done a lot of thinking, a lot of uncomfortable, painful thinking about who I am and how I move through the world. You were right about everything. I did see you as less than me. I did make assumptions based on your skin color and your job. And I did treat you and your staff as if you were there to serve me rather than as human beings with dignity and worth. I'm ashamed. But more than that, I'm committed to change. I've started volunteering at a community center in the 7th Ward, the same neighborhood you grew up in. I'm teaching a cooking class for seniors. Not because I'm some great chef, I'm not. But because I wanted to go to a place where I'd be uncomfortable, where I'd be the minority, where I'd have to listen and learn instead of assume and judge. Richard has started mentoring young entrepreneurs from underserved communities. He's using his real estate connections to help small business owners find affordable commercial space. We're not telling you this to get credit. We're telling you because you asked us to be better, and we're trying. But here's what I really wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you for not destroying us when you had every right to. Thank you for seeing potential in us when we saw none in you. Thank you for teaching us that dignity isn't about how you're treated. It's about how you treat others. My daughter asked me last week why I've been so different lately. Why I'm kinder to waiters and store clerks. Why I ask people about their lives instead of just giving orders. I told her about you. About that night. About the lesson I learned, and you know what she said? She said, "Mom, I'm glad you finally figured out what I already knew, that everyone matters." Out of the mouths of children, right? I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that your grace didn't go to waste. You planted something in us that night, and we're trying to let it grow. With deep respect and gratitude, Catherine Montgomery Marcus read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his desk drawer. Next to his grandmother's picture, he didn't respond right away. Needed time to think about it. That evening, after service, he gathered his staff. "I want to tell you all something," he said. They circled around him in the dining room. Tired from a busy night, but attentive. 6 months ago, something happened here that changed a lot of lives. Including mine. They knew what he was talking about. They'd all been there. All witnessed it. "I got a letter today," Marcus continued, "from the woman, Catherine. She's been volunteering in the 7th Ward, teaching cooking classes. Trying to be better?" Jasmine spoke up. "Do you believe her?" Marcus thought about it. I think people can change. Not all people. Not always. But some people, when confronted with their own ugliness, choose to grow instead of defending it. "So what does that mean for us?" Jerome asked. "It means," Marcus said slowly, "that what we do here matters. Not just the food, not just the service, but how we show up in the world. How we treat people. How we respond when we're disrespected. He looked around at his team. His family. Every single one of you has faced discrimination, assumptions, disrespect. I know you have. I've seen it. And I've seen how you handle it with grace and professionalism. Devon nodded. Maria wiped her eyes. You are not just employees, Marcus said. You are teachers. Every interaction you have with a customer is a lesson. About dignity. About excellence. About humanity. That's a heavy responsibility, Chef, Jasmine said quietly. It is, Marcus agreed. And it's not fair. It's not fair that we have to be perfect when others can be mediocre. It's not fair that we have to prove ourselves over and over. It's not fair that one mistake from us confirms their biases while one mistake from them is just a bad day. He paused. But that's the reality we live in. And we can either let it break us or let it build us. My grandmother used to say, let it make you better. And that's what we do here. Every single day, the staff was quiet, taking it in. So here's what I want you to know, Marcus said. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when someone treats you poorly or makes assumptions about you, remember this moment. Remember that how you respond has power, real power, the power to change hearts, to open minds, to plant seeds that might grow into something beautiful. What are you going to do about the letter? Jerome asked. Marcus smiled. I'm going to write back. I'm going to invite her and her husband to our staff meal next month. Let them eat with us. Hear our stories. See us as people, not just service providers. Jasmine looked surprised. You'd invite them back? After everything? That's what grace looks like, Marcus said. It's not pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's choosing to believe that people can be more than their worst moment. He looked at each of them. But I'm not doing it alone. This is our restaurant, our family. So I'm asking you, are you willing to give them another chance? There was a long pause, then one by one they nodded. Because that's what Thompson's table was built on. Not just great food, but grace. Dignity. The radical belief that people can change. 3 weeks later, Richard and Catherine Montgomery sat at the staff table in Thompson's table. It was Sunday afternoon. The restaurant was closed to the public. Just Marcus and his team and 2 guests who had learned a hard lesson. They ate together. Family style, gumbo and fried chicken and collard greens, cornbread and pecan pie, and they talked. Catherine asked Jasmine about nursing school, Jerome about his journey from homelessness, Maria about Honduras and her family. Richard listened more than he spoke, asked thoughtful questions, showed genuine interest. At the end of the meal, Marcus stood up. I want to thank you both for coming, he said, for being willing to sit with your discomfort, for being open to change. Thank you for having us, Catherine said, for giving us another chance. Here's the thing about second chances, Marcus said. They're not just for you. They're for me, too. Because holding on to anger and resentment, that's a prison, and I refuse to let anyone lock me in that cell. He looked at his staff. We all have a choice, every day, to let the hurt make us bitter or better, to close our hearts or keep them open, to see people as enemies or as potential allies in building a better world. Richard stood up, extended his hand to Marcus. I know I can never fully understand what you and your team face every day, he said. But I'm committed to learning, to listening, to using my privilege to open doors instead of closing them. Marcus shook his hand, then pulled him into a hug. That's all any of us can do, Marcus said. Show up, try, fail, try again. Keep getting better. As the Montgomerys left that afternoon, Catherine turned back one more time. Chef Thompson, she said. What's your grandmother's name? The one who taught you to let it make you better? Lorraine, Marcus said. Miss Lorraine Johnson, Catherine nodded. I'd like to make a donation in her name to the community center where I volunteer, for a scholarship fund, for kids who want to go to culinary school but can't afford it. Marcus felt his throat tighten. She would have loved that, he said. And she would have. Because Miss Lorraine understood something that took Marcus years to learn. Excellence is good. But excellence with empathy, that's transformative. Success is good. But success that lifts others? That's revolutionary. Proving yourself is good. But proving that dignity and grace can change the world? That's immortal. That night, Marcus sat in his office, alone, quiet. He pulled out a piece of paper and wrote a letter to his grandmother, something he did sometimes when the weight of the world felt heavy. Dear Grandma, today I did something that would have made you proud. Or maybe you already know. Maybe you're watching somehow. I gave grace to people who didn't deserve it. Not because they earned it, but because you taught me that grace isn't about what people deserve. It's about who we choose to be. I'm tired, Grandma. Tired of having to prove myself. Tired of the assumptions and the microaggressions and the constant vigilance. But then I remember what you said. Let it make you better, and I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. The restaurant is doing well. We just got our second Michelin star. But that's not what matters most to me. What matters is Jasmine graduating nursing school, and Jerome finding housing, and Devin creating dishes that blow my mind, and Maria sending money home to her family. What matters is that we built something beautiful. A place where people feel seen, valued, human. That's your legacy, Grandma. Not just in me, but in everyone I touch. I hope I'm making you proud. I hope I'm letting it make me better. Love always, Marcus. He folded the letter, put it with all the others he'd written over the years. Then he stood up, straightened his chef's coat, and went back to work. Because the work never stops. The building never ends. The opportunity to create beauty and dignity and change, that's always there. One meal at a time, one person at a time, one moment of grace at a time, and that's the real story here. Not about a couple who learned a lesson, though they did. Not about a chef who went viral, though he did. But about the choice we all have every single day to let the darkness of this world make us bitter, or to let it make us better, to respond to hate with hate, or to respond with something more powerful, to see people as they appear, or to see them as they could become. Marcus Thompson chose better, chose grace, chose excellence, and in doing so, he didn't just build a restaurant, he built a legacy, one that will outlive the viral videos and the news stories and even Thompson's table itself. Because the people he touched, they'll touch others, and those people will touch others, and on and on and on. That's how change happens, not in grand gestures, but in small acts of dignity multiplied across millions of moments. That's how grace works. Not in letting people off the hook, but in giving them a ladder to climb out of their ignorance. That's how excellence transforms, not by being perfect, but by being consistent, present, human. So the next time someone disrespects you, and they will, remember Marcus. Remember that you have a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can respond with anger, or you can respond with excellence. You can see enemies, or you can see opportunities for transformation. The choice is always yours, and who knows? Maybe your grace, your dignity, your excellence will plant a seed in someone that grows into something beautiful. Maybe, like Marcus, you'll change someone's heart, and maybe, just maybe, that person will change someone else's, and on and on and on, until one day, we wake up in a world where everyone sees everyone else as human, where dignity is the default, where grace is common, where excellence is standard. That's the world Miss Lorraine dreamed of. That's the world Marcus is building, and that's the world we can all create. One meal at a time, one interaction at a time, one moment of choosing better at a time, so go ahead, let it make you bitter, or let it make you better. The choice, as always, is yours. Thompson's table still operates in New Orleans today. Marcus Thompson has trained over 50 young chefs from underserved communities. The Lorraine Johnson Scholarship Fund has sent 12 students to culinary school. Richard and Catherine Montgomery are regular donors. And yes, they're still learning, because we all are. The work continues.